I'm sitting here with Kevin Eastman, the current owner, editor, and publisher of Heavy Metal magazine. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you so much for coming to Toronto.
Great, thanks for having me. It's having a blast here.
Terrific, that's great news. Now, of course, you are the editor of Heavy Metal, and everybody knows and loves Heavy Metal, I'm sure, but you're probably most famous for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first issue of them was published in 1984.
Yes.
And it came out as an oversized black and white edition, right?
That's exactly
All right. I just wanted to know if there are any issues left. Like, did you keep any for yourself?
Kept a couple, but back in those days, we didn't think we'd sell any of them, and we gave them away to willy-nilly, aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and all that stuff. Kept 4 or 5 for ourselves, and then when they actually sold out, it was sort of like, years later when it became worth $1,000 or $1,500, we should have kept more. So.
Yeah, a little retirement fund. Well, the name of the studio was Mirage.
Yes.
Still is Mirage, didn't it? That was sort of a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that you guys didn't really have a studio at the time.
No, that's 100% correct. It was our living room, and so Pete and I had these 2 overstuffed chairs and a lap board and a TV in the corner, and we used to pass pages and stuff back and forth. And so that was kind of our joke. It's Mirage Studios because it really isn't one. So and it stuck. So
yeah. Well, one of the cool things about Mirage Studios is the fact that all the original staff are still there, except of course for yourself.
Yes.
Looking back on what they've done since, do you ever feel a bit of a twang of regret for actually splitting with Laird and heading out west?
Not at all. I mean, sort of like when Pete and I worked on the Turtles from 1984 till, basically when the last TV series kind of petered out in 1997, we'd been working together for a long time and spent a lot of time doing Turtle stuff. And prior to that, I'd already purchased Heavy Metal magazine. And we were expanding the publishing, expanding the entertainment, getting into movies, that kind of stuff. And so when the initial split between me and Peter was just basically he bought over creative control. There really wasn't much going on with the Turtles. And so I retained a piece of profits and ownership and all that until this year, which after, the relaunch and some other things that had happened and stuff, we just decided, look, why don't we make a clean break, and you could buy me out of my final ownership piece, and I can go on my way with Heavy Metal and everybody wins, so that's what we did. So.
Especially yes, because you're here now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm here now, and yeah, I mean, as far as regret, I mean, I still have a turtle story or two to tell, but maybe someday when I'm older, and for now, I'm just happy.
Perfect situation.
Thanks.
On different tack, in 1988, you were a member of the group of some comic artists and writers who got together and formed the the Charter of the Bill of Rights.
That's right.
Which was first published in issue number 137 of the Comics Journal. The intention of the Bill of Rights is to preserve the right of comic creators everywhere. So how did the idea for such a bill develop?
The main idea was Peter and I grew up as huge fans of Jack Kirby and many other mainstream artists that created like the Marvel Universe or the DC Universe, and as these corporations made just vast, huge sums of money and didn't take care of no pension plans, their creators had owned no rights to the characters or anything like that, and so we were aware of this. So when we created the Turtles, we kept the ownership of the copyright, the trademark, and thus, because we had that control, we were able to profit from all the decisions that we made with our characters. And so what we found is that there was so many up-and-coming people like us that the Bill of Rights was intended as an informational document saying, these are your rights, these are the things that you should be aware of, and if you go in to Marvel and DC and you decide to sign away all those rights, we just want you to be aware that you're signing away of all those rights. We weren't saying, this is law, this is what we're mandating, we just said, this is what you should be aware of. And it was really unfortunate that around that time we put this out, people saying like, how dare they tell us this, that we should be doing this, and we should be doing that. And we're like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I mean, we're just telling you, be aware of your rights. If you choose to give them up, then fine, but not. But so anyway.
No, absolutely. To follow that up, a lot of people actually think that the Bill of Rights was designed to counter the censorship enforced by the Comic Code Authority. Would you say there's any truth to that?
No, not at all. I mean, in fact, the Comics Code Authority was something, the McCarthyism, those years, I think they actually destroyed, Americans' growth, American comics as a growth artistic medium, because you look at sort of like, everybody felt that comic books were bad for kids and it was just throwaway, it was trash, made just for kids. But you look at all of our sister nations and countries like Japan and Europe especially, that their comics market went on to flourish and became a really well-respected, nationally funded art form. And here we, around that time, we're still doing what they call throwaway medium, and there's some amazing works of art done within comics, and it's sort of a true American art form to a certain point. It was just the Comics Code Authority was already kind of on its way out because there was already so many books that were being done that were for adults only, and the underground comics and all that stuff. So it was time for it to go away anyway, and we didn't help it. It was on its way out regardless. So
okay, so it was already the death knell was already sounding for the Authority by that point.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's fantastic. Well, in 1990, while you're still with Mirage, you had the idea to form your own publishing company called Tundra.
Yep.
You hailed it as a creator-friendly publishing house.
Yep.
Around that same time, there were a lot of other comic creators were making inroads to getting their books into traditional bookstores as well. Do you feel like that timing worked out against Tundra in any way? Tundra did win some awards, like the Harvey Awards and the Eisner Awards, but that competition or that sort of phenomenon of getting into traditional bookstores was going on at the same time. Do you think that affected it in any way?
Well, what I think, my perspective on Tundra was that, I want to create a company. It was very similar to kind of a furtherance to the Bill of Rights, is that, I want to create a major company funded by my turtle money that basically creators could come and I would publish their work and they would own it all. And I would take it was an 80-20 split in their favor for profits after he said, I'll recoup the cost of doing the book, 20% remains to me, comes back to my company to keep my staff and everybody paid, and then 80% of the profit goes back to you. You own all of the rights, ownership, and whatever. So what ended up happening is we had this huge, suddenly we were doing Neil Gaiman's next project, Dave McKean's next project, Alan Moore's next project, you name it, people were coming, George Pratt, and we were suddenly pulling guys out of major studio. They're now doing work for Tundra, and they're not doing work for Marvel or DC. And around this time, there was a lot of stuff going on with the publishing industry. The distribution industry with Capital Comics and Diamond Comics looking for exclusive contracts, and we felt that in the end that they were really upset with us for stealing all of their big money selling artists, and so we felt that if Dave McKean's last issue for Marvel sold 150,000 copies, his first issue for us sold 16,000. You wonder why?
Yeah.
So we felt we were blacklisted a little bit, blackballed a little bit. But we were doing this amazing work, and that's what I'm the proudest of. Whatever award nominations were sent our way and stuff for the work that the creators were doing, that was their vision, their stories. They had no editors. Nobody told them, well, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. They were doing their own vision. And that to me is the coolest compliment. So
absolutely. And I guess in a creative industry, it's as cutthroat as any other creative industry. Everybody's just watching out for their own back and trying to get the others as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, in 1992, you bought Heavy Metal magazine. You're now the owner, the editor, and the publisher. What was it about Heavy Metal that made you want to pick it up?
Huge fan. I bought the first issue, Heavy Metal, off the newsstand in 1977. To me, it was like around the time that I was actually just growing out of normal comics, X-Men and Daredevil, and it's like along comes, but I still loved the medium. I was drawing all the time, and along comes Heavy Metal, and it's like I had never seen European comics before, and it's like wow, it was like and really well written, highly intelligent storylines, really beautifully illustrated art, nudity, adult themes, and this is cool. So I found all these artists in Heavy Metal, like Richard Corbin, Vaughn Bodie, and those kinds of artists. In my pursuit of finding more about those guys, like Richard Corbin and Vaughn Bodie, I found about underground publishers, Kitchen Sink Press, Ripoff Press, those kind of companies, so that when I actually came around to the time that I wanted to do my own comic book, I didn't want to go to Marvel or DC. I wanted to self-publish or go work for these underground publishers. Turtles was self-published. Because of that self-publishing, I was able to keep all the profits from the Turtles, which gave me enough money to buy Heavy Metal. So it's sort of like Heavy Metal helped me buy Heavy Metal.
That's amazing. That's a perfect way.
And it's true, and it's exactly the way it happened.